Hey everybody, some gadget guy here with another device versus device showdown, fight for blood. And continuing in our discussion of comparing various phablets with the iPhone 6 Plus, I wanted to spend a little time talking about the LG G Flex. The G Flex, I still think, is a gem of a phone that got knocked for some of its, like its lower resolution screen. But I think it did a lot of really interesting things for LG, and it sort of moved their software and hardware design language forward in a way that I really liked. And it just stands as such an odd counterpoint to a phone like the 6 Plus in a number of different discussions that we can have about things like durability and design. So I've already discussed in previous videos, the screen size versus other things, how the iPhone 6 Plus doesn't really feel that much smaller than a phone like, say, the Lumia 1520. The LG G Flex also has a 6-inch screen, but the rounded corners on the Flex and the taper, the curve to the screen, you can see how the phone is literally bent. It makes the LG G Flex fit in the hand better than just about any other phablet I've ever used. It feels a little more ergonomic, and it sort of shrinks some of the size in the distance for how you have to navigate areas of the screen to get around the device. So much so that when you stack it up against a phone like the iPhone 6 Plus, it feels almost exactly the same size. The G Flex is definitely a bigger phone, but those curves, corners, and tapers help it line up really well with a phone that has a 1/2 inch on the diagonal smaller screen. I mean, no joke, guys, it's almost exactly the same height. But of course, you can see that's because of how the device curves. I think that's a phenomenal ergonomic benefit in LG's favor. And I think the 720p screen on the G Flex is still a passable display. Obviously, when you start comparing resolution against a 1080p display, the iPhone's going to win that hands down. And the AMOLED panel that's being used here isn't quite as bright at its maximum brightness as the iPhone display is, though you do get those deeper, darker blacks thanks to the contrast ratio of an OLED display. For all that we might get excited about new screen sizes, I really do hope manufacturers keep playing with form factor. We've sort of agreed on this slab of glass design. And I don't mean to pick on Apple overly here, because many other manufacturers are sort of stuck in that same trap too. And Apple is a very conservative hardware company, so we're really gonna turn to Apple to rock that boat. But it means that when we see phones like this from LG or the new Galaxy Note Edge from Samsung coming out soon, I really wanna celebrate any changes to this form factor that we might receive. I have been getting slightly better battery life out of the LG versus the iPhone 6 Plus. This is a 3,500 milliamp hour battery versus a 2,900 milliamp hour battery. And the processors are not cooking to drive this display. I mean, it's only a 720p display, so it doesn't have to work as hard just to render elements of the UI. Plus, if you keep darker elements on your screen, you do get some small power benefits on AMOLED. I think the speaker on the bottom of the iPhone is a little bit nicer than the speaker on the back of the G Flex. I think the headphone jack on the iPhone is a little bit louder, a little bit crisper than the headphone jack on the G Flex, but we're kind of splitting hairs there. In talking about cameras, I like the image sensor on the G Flex better than the image sensor on the iPhone. I like having the extra resolution to play with, and the fact that this can shoot 4K video is really nice. But then we turn it around, and the optical image stabilization on the iPhone, I think, provides for better HD video, and it does a much better job of compensating for your hand movements when you're shooting photos in low light environments. But I also wanted to talk about durability, because the iPhone and the G Flex approach durability from completely different schools of thought. This is a new metallic alloy, it's got a matte finish, it's a very rigid, solid feeling device, it feels really hefty, it's got a nearly perfect balance to it. It's just a gorgeous piece of engineering, impossibly slim, rounded off corners and tapers, but the G Flex moves over into interesting plastics and coatings. You can bend the phone to a degree. I can kind of flatten it out there for you guys so you can see. There's a sort of a self-healing coating on the back of the phone, which really does a good job against super light abrasions and scratches. I have a deep gouge right there. That's never gonna go away, but it looks a lot better than the day I accidentally gouged into my phone. While I was in the middle of shooting and editing this video, my social networking feeds blew up about the Bendgate or Bendgate iPhone issues, people putting the iPhone 6 Plus into a pocket, and then the video that came out of someone just crushing their iPhone and pushing up against the edges. Of course, if you have a fulcrum on something this thin and you put pressure and you apply pressure to that one point, you're probably gonna snap or bend a number of phones out there. What the design ethic is between a rigid device and a flexible device, and I've had the G Flex in front pockets and back pockets, and the fact that you can, to a degree, sit here and flex it, if I just want to bend it flat. See right there? But overall, I'm kind of feeling for Apple fans right now is anything that might introduce doubt into your gadget buying experience just kind of throws a little cold water on your potential fun. You don't want to pick up a crown jewel device that's going to be this expensive and then potentially wreck it just by using it in your daily life. So I'm really hoping that the frame bending issues on the 6 Plus aren't as systemic or problematic as the internet echo chamber might be making them out to be. And while I absolutely love taking pot shots at Apple as a company, I absolutely don't want to take it out on Apple fans who might be excited for the first time to have the choice of a large screened iPhone. I didn't want to get overly in depth in the discussion between these two phones, but what I really do find fascinating is what the G Flex provides us in terms of discussing things like we've talked about: durability, ergonomics, design. A number of things about the G Flex make a lot of sense, and I hope that we see companies like LG and Samsung continuing to experiment with form factor. And of course, I really want to hear from you guys. What attracts you to a larger screen device? What kind of experimental technologies do you hope to see in future phablets? Especially in terms of, flexible displays or different alloy and metallic build qualities. Definitely drop me some comments down below because I love getting into those kinds of conversations. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching my videos, subscribing to my channel, sharing my videos. You guys have been talking up a storm on my recent videos. I could not be more grateful, more thankful. You're really helping build out this channel, and it's so much fun sharing this tech goodness with you all. Hit that thumbs up button, and I will catch you all on the next review.